Mm, 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 mm. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Listen to this. I honor the Lord for everyone, but the book of 2 Kings, chapter number 7. And it reads on this wise, and if you'll give me just a few moments. Then Elisha said, hear the word of the Lord. For thus saith the Lord, tomorrow about this time shall a measure of flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gates of Samaria. Then the Lord, whose hand the king leaned, answered the man of God and said, behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might, or how can this thing be? And he said, behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but not eat thereof. I want everybody to do me a favor and just look at your watch. Say to the person next to you these words. Tell them, all I know is tomorrow about this time God's gonna give you the miracle. On the other side, say to him, please don't ask me how God's going to do it. Tell him I don't even know all God's going to do. But I do know this. Tomorrow, somewhere around this time, God's going to give you your miracle. Do me a favor, because it's always easy to say things like that to other persons, but lay hands on yourself. Tell them tomorrow about this time God's gonna give me because everything that shines is not always silver, gold, or diamonds. We must recognize that there is an aviance by which God brings the element of his doing beyond the substance of his will, so that if you don't know his will, you won't understand his way. If you don't understand his way, you won't clearly be able to hear his voice. And my sheep know my voice, and strangers they will not follow quickly. When we understand the essence of this, it is imperative that we reckon why God has instituted this service tonight. If you've noticed the correlation by which God is ministering within song brings us into the place, because everybody in here has had to go through something to get them to where they are in God. Now, of course, the essence of this brings in the renewing of the thoughts, because it is here now that God speaks in prophetically, but yet in the prophetic realm he speaks apparently in the hour for the now. In other words, God has a tendency to go beyond the corridors of what we think into the now and bring things that would take place in our tomorrows. When God began speaking to me about it, he said, that's why, Nathan, it is imperative that my people understand that now faith is the substance of the things that are hoped for and the evidences of things for future reference that have not yet been seen. He says, because we understand the now concept. Now, beloved, are we the sons of God. He doesn't declare it like you already have arrived, but he knows through the striving of the essence that it doth not yet appear what we shall be. But when he does, we shall be like him and see him as he simply is. Of course, in the process thereof, we move in the challenges. How can I bring my now into my future and then cause my past to not prohibit me from going to my destiny purposes in God? Lord, I wish it wasn't 2 o'clock. And every now and then, God will move in a contrary fashion. He'll upset situations. He'll turn things upside down. He'll make things seem right when they're wrong. He'll make things seem wrong when they're right. When you get to that place, it's then that you've got to be clear. And if you can't hear nothing else, you got to hold on to what God told you. Look at your neighbor and tell him, I'm just holding on to what God has already said. It didn't look like it when he said it. It didn't seem like it when he declared it. But tell your neighbor, you don't know about the God that I serve. The God that I serve is not a man that he should lie, neither is he the son of man that he should repent. Whatever God said, he gonna bring it to pass. And when the thing took place, he had to be cautious with a clean, sharp, keen sense of discernment. He had to look at the Lord thereof of the Philistines in process and say, when he declared it, figure this thing out. Find me a way to make it happen. I don't know how it's going to take place. If the Lord would open up the windows of heaven, how could it be? Touch your neighbor and tell him, I don't know how God gonna do what he said. I don't know how God gonna bring it to pass. Touch your neighbor and tell him, I found out that the house and the winds and the where's and the who's belong to God. Have you noticed God does what he wants to do when he wants to do it and how? Isn't it amazing that God can pick up anybody that would avail themselves to him and say, who are you? Where you come from? Who's your mama? Who's your daddy? And Jesus will answer, who is my mother? Who is my father? For my need is to do the will of God. Tell your neighbor, you might not see it like God said it. You might not understand what God is doing, but I declare, look at your neighbor and tell him, tomorrow about this time, tell him I'm expecting God to give me what I need. You can't do it. Mama can't do it. I need a miracle tomorrow about this time. Need one right now. But right now, I believe God God, Jehovah Jireh, God, Jehovah Shalom, God, my El Shaddai, God, my everlasting portion. Touch somebody and tell them, all I know is tomorrow about this time you can expect. Tell them what to expect, y'all. Now look at your neighbor and tell them, you might not need the miracle as urgent as I need it, but touch your neighbor and say, I needed it before I got here, and I'm not leaving here without it.